Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you my favorite wire wrapping tools that I use in my whole kit. And if you're a beginner, this is a perfect video for you. Before we begin, I would like to inform you that I've just published my first exclusive advanced wire wrapping tutorial on this heady pendant. So if you're interested in learning how to make this, you can check out my coffee shop to do so. The link is down below at the pinned comments. And now, let's start today's video. The first tools we need are a set of pliers. Now here I have different kinds, but I'll tell you which ones you can start with and all the others you can just get later on. When I just started out, I bought these set of pliers and used them for about 3 months before I actually bought new pliers and wire cutters. So yes, you may start with these and they're really cheap. So if in the end you think wire jewelry making is not for you, then there's no need to feel bad about how much you've spent. I don't remember from which company I got these from because I bought these from a local craft store like 4 or 5 years ago, and they don't have any branding on them. So yeah, that's that. Oh, and by the way, all of the products that I will mention in this video will be linked below in the description box. Products that have no brand name, I'll try to look for a similar item and put them down at the description as well. The first must-have tool we have that I'm holding here is called a needle nose plier from Xuron, which is probably one of my favorite pliers in the bunch because the grip is so soft to use, but at the same time the tip is quite strong. This type of plier is very versatile, and you can definitely start working on your jewelry with only these as your main plier. Now, this is perfect for beginners because you can use the base of the plier here to bend your wires like you would with a flat nose. And at the same time, you can use the tip to pull wires from really tight spaces, like this. And although the tip is quite thin, this tool is strong enough to crimp your wires as well, even the thick ones. The second tool that you'll most likely need in your kit is a round nose plier. I have a couple of variations here. One is just a normal round nose plier. The other one is a multi-size loop forming plier. But yes, you don't need this from the get-go. You can just use a normal round nose plier in the meantime. Now this round nose plier is perfect for curling your wires into round shapes. You can also make loops with them and create curly cues and so on. Now the third plier that you'll be needing is called a flat nose plier. I like using this plier for bending wires that are thicker and stronger. I also use this to bend wires in a more angular manner, like this. And at the same time, I can use this to flatten shapes or curls. This plier is probably one of my favorites as well because it is a combination of a flat nose, needle, and chain nose plier. Also, because of the bend at the tip, I can easily use this to pull or push wires into tight spaces in an angle that a needle nose plier has a hard time to reach. These are called nylon tip pliers. This is a must-have, I believe, because it helps straighten your wires. At the same time, I use these to softly bend my wires and weaves without creating marks on them. And of course, in order to make these jewelry pieces, you will need wire cutters. There are different types of wire cutters, but these are the ones that I'm using. So this is a Xuron micro shear, which is again one of my favorites because the grips are really soft and ergonomically friendly, and the tips are extremely thin that it can cut in difficult to reach areas. This, on the other hand, is a generic micro shear that I got from Amazon for like $5. I wouldn't say that this is a dupe of the Xuron, but because of the price, I would rather use this to cut thicker wires than the Xuron, because I can easily buy multiples of these and replace them instead of trying to sharpen them. I use chasing hammers in wire making jewelry in 4 ways. 1 is to harden wire, 2 is to flatten wire, 3 is to texturize wire, and 4 to taper or hammer some areas of wire to create a variation of thickness in appearance. Okay, that was very long. Anyway, here are the types of hammers that I use. As for the bench block or anvil, I mainly use this extremely heavy bench block, whereas before I used to use the side of a normal hammer as an anvil, because bench blocks can be quite expensive. Please excuse my hammer as I haven't used this for a long time, so it is quite rusty. When it comes to weaving or keeping 2 or more base wires together, I use either a ring clamp or painter's tape to make things easy. Some people also use backdrop clamps, such as these ones, which also serves the same purpose. These are also one of my must-haves in the list for your kit, especially if you plan on weaving more. I use these bobbins to keep my weaving wires, such as a 28 and 26 gauge, and also my 22 gauge half rounds. This makes my life easier when I make heady pieces like these. While coiling can be done by hand, it can be tedious and tiring, especially when you have to coil long base wires. In this case, we can use some tools such as these two. This is called a coiling gizmo, and of course you can use a cordless drill. For me, I use both, especially when I make double coils such as this one. So the first thing I would do is I would use a hand drill to make my first coil, and then I would use the coiling gizmo to wrap the first coil evenly. Anyway, I'll be making a separate video on how I use these tools for coiling, so please stay in tuned for that. Whenever I work, I usually use my cutting mat to measure my wires and frame. When I make videos though, I rarely show that because it doesn't look good on video. But behind the scenes, this is what I usually do. Using a cutting mat to measure things makes my life easier, since all I need to do is place my wires on the border of the mat and cut where I want to cut them. If you don't have a cutting mat, you can also use these different measuring materials like a ruler or a measuring tape. It's really up to you. If you plan on making rings, you'll be needing these. This is what you would call a ring mandrel and a ring sizer. When getting these, I suggest you buy the ones made of metal instead of the ones made of plastic, mainly because the plastic ones don't last that long and get scratched in the long run, especially when you hammer onto it. Also, I have here a pair of smaller mandrels. that are mainly used to make smaller loops. These are optional if you already have a multi-size loop forming plier, like the one I showed you earlier. Here I have a set of different diamond files that I use to smoothen out wire ends or parts of the wire that have a few nicks on them. Next, I would use a higher grit sandpaper or nail buffers like this one to further smooth them out. And of course, if you want to splurge a little, you can use a Dremel or a rotary tool to make things easier. When you finish constructing your pieces, it's always best to use these type of compounds to remove fine lines and nicks. This is a full set of polishing compounds that can be bought together, which included a manual, but I seem to have lost it. But in any case, I've already found the chart online, so here is the different uses of each compound. For me though, I only use the red mostly when I polish my pieces. When it comes to oxidizing copper and silver pieces, I use liver of sulfur with hot water, and then I neutralize the piece with cool water and baking soda. Anyway, I'll be doing a dedicated video on oxidizing and polishing one of these days, so please stay tuned for that as well. Here I have two types of polishing cloths. This is actually used for silver jewelry, but you can also use this as a final buff for both copper and silver. These ones are called Pro Polish polishing pads, which are basically the same material as this on the back of a nail buffer. I normally use this for a quick polish, and I also provide one pad for each item that I sell. Whenever I use my Dremel to file or polish, I always use safety gear. Here are the things that I use. I use goggles to protect my eyes from any metal debris that can possibly fly towards me, and a mask to protect my lungs from inhaling particles from filing and polishing. Another tool that I use that you've probably seen in this channel before is this dust collector. As I mentioned before, I have asthma, so as a further safety measure, I use this to vacuum the dust while using my rotary tool. This also helps a lot because it lessens the amount of particles that are flying around almost instantly. And up until recently, I've been using this air purifier that I got, and I put it nearby as it does pick up some of the dust particles as well. For the past few videos, reels and shorts that I've filmed, I've been wearing these gloves as I work. And a lot of you have asked me what they do. They're basically compression gloves, and they help with joint pain, and they also absorb sweat from the palms whenever I'm working. I have a couple of different pairs here, but my favorite is this one to work with because of the rubber grips on the palm side. They help with keeping my tools from dropping, unlike this, which is completely smooth. And lastly, lighting. Lighting is one of the most important things you will be needing when making jewelry, because without light, of course, it would be difficult to see what you're doing. There are two types of light that you can use: natural light from your windows or artificial lights like this ring light. This ring light has a 5600 Kelvin color temperature, which mimics the color temperature of natural daylight. But you can also use a slightly warmer temperature if you experience some sort of eye fatigue or migraines with daylight to cooler color temperatures. With that in mind, you can get one of these ring lights that are bicolored, which can turn from warm to cool with a touch of a button. Be mindful though, when you get a light like this, the intensity of the light decreases because the number of LEDs are divided between two different LED light bulbs, yellow and white, whereas the daylight variant only has one color of LED bulbs. Nowadays though, because I'm using this desk as both my workstation and filming area, I've upgraded my lighting to using this cob light from Colbor with a softbox which diffuses the light. Although my ring light was doing a really good job and it offered an even amount of lighting whenever I film, my problem with it is that it was giving this round glare around the pieces I'm working on. So I had to change my lights to the Colbor CL60. It's really amazing because it's so small and yet the light that it gives is so strong. I mainly use this as my key light and a small panel light as a fill. And I really love this current lighting setup that I have. If there's anything I change, I'll probably get a larger octagon softbox for the lighting and possibly get another Colbor cob later on. By the way, the one that I have here is the daylight variant, but they also have the bicolor, which is the warm to cool, and an RGB variant as well. And these are all the tools that I'm using in my home wire wrapping kit. Now, if you're interested in getting some of these, I've put a link to my Amazon storefront down below at the description and the pinned comment. Do note that some of them are not exactly the same brand as I cannot find them on Amazon, but I found a similar type and build there. Also, the links down below does give me a small commission, which helps improve this channel further. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this informative video today. If you are a beginner and don't know what to get, I hope that this video helps you. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and to hit the notification bell to this channel if you haven't already. And lastly, don't forget to check out the exclusive tutorial on this lovely jewelry piece in my coffee shop. That's it for today's video. Thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Happy wrapping!